So good morning, everyone. So we'll start with this webinar. Welcome to this webinar on crafting a self-care plan and coping strategies during the pandemic. So I welcome all of you and thank you once more for spending your precious Saturday morning with us, to be with us in this webinar. Well, I'm Zen Udani. I'm an HROD professional, at the same time a consultant to some companies on call. And at the same time, I've also been an academic for my past few years, teaching at the Faculty of Business at the University of Macau for almost 16 years. And meanwhile, while I was there, I was able to do a few consultancy work in the Philippines. My last big one was with a steel company in the Philippines, doing a corporate culture development work. And I've also been involved in life coaching, mentoring people, different walks of life, and a few other things. I've also written a few books, written some academic articles for journals, presented in conferences. And my interest basically is practically anything under the sun about life, especially. Now, just a brief background about this workshop or this webinar on crafting a self-care plan and coping strategies. Well, I just thought that it's something which, well, perhaps I should pay attention to and share what I have done, what I've experienced myself as a person concerned about health and with health issues as well. Well, this matter of self-care is something which is of great importance, especially during these days when we've seen a lot of people close to us perhaps experiencing a lot of difficulties with health issues, and some perhaps bidding us goodbye, no? Because of a serious illness. No? Of course, that's part of life. As we know, we're not permanent citizens of this world. Nonetheless, we have to make the most of what we have here. So I titled my seminar, Crafting a Self-Care Plan and Coping Strategies During this Pandemic, Living Each Day Better Than Yesterday. So let me move on. So self-care is giving the world the best of you instead of what's left of you. So which means, well, we can always be better than what we are right now. So we cannot leave, especially this precious matter of health, our personal health, well, to chance. It's something that we have to work on deliberately, something that we have to take care of. It's only one life, something that we wish to live the best that we can. People nowadays talk about a better version of their lives. No? But again, that thing is something which has to be intended, something that has to be willed, and there must be somehow some personal plan towards achieving it. So what are the webinar learning objectives? Well, obviously 1 hour is not enough to cover everything, to cover all the matters that we want to consider about self-care. But perhaps this 1 hour or so would give us an opportunity to stop, to look and to listen, to take a look at ourselves, no? Take a stock of our life. No? Where are we going? Where are we headed to? No? How's our state of health? No? Spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental. And perhaps at the end of this webinar, we will be able to achieve one of these webinar objectives here at hand. So first, well, the webinar intends to help us to have a keen awareness of the state of our well-being and the self-care we need. If perhaps you recall, today in fact is the 5th month. It's the 5th month of our lockdown here in the Philippines. People say that the Philippines has had the longest lockdown. I've seen photos of my relatives, cousins in the US. Some of them are enjoying the beach right now with no trace of perhaps, what we usually see, in people here in Manila being very careful about the coronavirus with masks, etc., sanitizing themselves, and a few other safeguards. No? So it's good to have a keen awareness of our state of well-being. As we usually say, we cannot give what we don't have. We cannot take care of others unless we take care of ourselves first. No? And then we also would be able to perhaps spot and identify key result areas of improvement in our overall wellness. No? Some of us are consultants here. We help businesses to become better. We help people to become better if you're a coach and mentors. No? Why not focus on ourselves and, well, perhaps even use the very, the very skills that we have in coaching, mentoring, consulting with companies, but at the same time focusing on, well, precisely ourselves, making ourselves really a better person. Holistically looking at our personality, our person as not just something that is physical, but beyond that, that we have the spiritual dimension, an emotional dimension which affects us right now, and obviously also in a mental dimension. So it's good to spot those key result areas of improvement. Then lastly, well, hopefully at the end of this webinar, we can be able to draft a self-care plan and identify coping strategies amid the pandemic. Businesses do have strategic plans. Nowadays, it's more unstable, perhaps. Early of the year, well, last year's strategic plan now, well, by this time would have been perhaps rendered practically useless because of what has happened. But for us as individuals, I think it's good to always have that planning, that personal plan. And this time, okay, let's take a look at our self-care plan. So I got this recently from from a web page which I follow in Facebook, PragerU. So the Center for Disease Control in the U.S. reports the following information regarding results of lockdowns. Now, for adults 18 or older, take a look. 14.9% reported mental or behavioral health issues. Perhaps directly because of the lockdown. Of course, it's good to read later on some more conclusive studies about the correlation between the lockdown and these illnesses. And then we have here 30.9 had anxiety or depression. 26.3 had trauma and stress. 13.3% started increased substance abuse or substance use. 10.7% considered suicide in the last 30 days. And the question they pose is, was it worth it? Was it worth to have a lockdown? Obviously, being locked in a place, being isolated, for all of us is, well, it's a different life. It's not the life that we usually live. At least for us, well, we want to go out. In my case, I want to go out to exercise. I used to go almost twice a week at the Quezon City Circle, inside the Quezon Memorial Park, well, just to walk around, enjoy the garden, enjoy the plants and the trees, etc. Nowadays, with this lockdown, it's more difficult, right? So what has been the effect of the lockdown? Now let's take a look at self-care. So what is self-care? Well, we can define self-care as an active and willful preservation and enhancement of our well-being. I'd like to underscore active and willful. Of course, we may have heard or seen posters of self-care, those that I've been posting over the last few days. But here we basically see something that's deliberate, that's willful. Self-care plan is something that we have to work on deliberately, something that we may have to craft mentally, perhaps, or even using our mobile digital diaries to take note of the plan that we have for our own health. So it's just that, okay, it's an active and willful preservation and enhancement of our well-being. It also covers a spectrum of actions aimed at maintaining and boosting our health, shielding us from disease, and dealing with illness. I'm not a medical doctor, but well, all of us have had experiences, right, of medical issues, about giving people advice, even if we're not medical doctors, about taking good care of their health. Again, when we look at self-care, it's not just about physical health. There are many dimensions that we will consider later on, but our focus will be basically on 4, which I will talk more lengthily later. We will focus on the spiritual dimension of self-care, its physical dimension, the emotional dimension of self-care, and the mental dimension of self-care. So the acronym to keep in mind is SPEM. SPEM, spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental. SPEM, by the way, is Latin for hope. So I deliberately focus on those 4. Same time, looking at the meaning, the Latin meaning, which is hope, which I think something we all do need. So self-care is an attitude towards ourselves and our lives that says, I'm responsible for myself. And that's what we precisely do when we make a deliberate plan about taking care of ourselves. We don't just leave it by chance. We don't just leave it to people around us, no? But it's something that we have to do precisely at this point in time in our life. No? So there are some myths about self-care. Well, some people think that self-care is indulgence, but it is not. No? It's something which is needed by every person. It's something that we have to deliberately work on, something that we have to include in our daily resolutions. No? It's nurturing our whole self, body, mind, and spirit. Again, the focus is not just the physical. Although ordinarily when we talk of health, we immediately talk of the physical because as we all know, the physical has the most immediate impact in our lives. No? When we feel a headache, for instance, when we feel dizzy, when we don't feel well, when we lacked sleep the previous night, well, all these things affect our well-being. And self-care is also not selfish. No? Although we qualify care with self, it's not something selfish. No? Obviously, taking care of ourselves is quite important because if we're unhealthy, as it would be in this case, for instance, these days when people are unhealthy, they may be suspected of some illness, especially coronavirus. Well, definitely they cannot take care of other people. They're isolated, they're quarantined. And then self-care is also not a one-time experience. Well, some people may think that, okay, it's just a one-time experience or it's a yearly experience. No? Like, people habitually, those who can afford, those who take it seriously, they do a yearly medical checkup. And sometimes one's birthday is a marker, which is a reminder for someone to see the doctor, have a comprehensive executive medical checkup. But again, it's not just a one-time experience. It's something which is ongoing. No? So we are, in fact, a work in progress, so to speak. No? And the other myth is self-care is time-consuming. Well, we don't really spend too much during the day taking care of ourselves. No? When we work too much, sometimes we forget about ourselves. We forget about drinking water. We forget about hydrating ourselves. We forget about getting up from our chairs. No? As we've been advised, we've heard it many times, it's always good to stand up, walk around every now and then, and not to get stuck in one's chair for hours up to the end of the day because it's not bad for it's bad for our posture, right? So self-care is a must. It's not a luxury in short. Now, what are some of the benefits of self-care? No? Well, just hang on. I'll be having some short exercises later on, which would be interesting, I think, for all of us in this particular webinar. Well, according to the American Psychological Society, the APA, well, here are some of the benefits of self-care. It enhances self-esteem and confidence. Obviously, when we feel good, when we feel healthier, we exude that confidence. And then what else? It contributes to realistic goal setting. When we're sure of ourselves, when we're sure of our health, well, we perhaps will be able to know better what we can achieve these next few months, these coming years, given the state of our health. It helps build resilience. Resilience is another topic, webinar topic, which I've discussed at least twice in the past. Resilience is our ability to rebound, our ability to get up and begin again. And then it also fortifies relationships with other people. Obviously, when we're healthier, we are better disposed to deal with people. When we feel better, we feel well, it's a lot easier to smile. It's a lot easier to be kind, perhaps. Although I'm not saying that, when we're having a headache, we'll always wear a spout or we'll always be grouchy and the like. Huh? We can always overcome those ill feelings that we may have, those illnesses that we may have with a positive note. No? And then it also increases our capacity for empathy, our capacity to be more concerned about other people. We're able to help other people given the state of our health. No? And what else? It promotes quality of caring. No? When we're healthier, we're able to help other people. When we're physically, psychologically, spiritually fit, it's much easier to help other people. And obviously, it also models healthy behavior for others. Well, I may not be that super healthy, but perhaps my desire, my willingness, my zeal to help others helps me in terms of, at least my psychological motivation and make up to, to better to improve my life and to improve my physical health, spiritual health, and other aspects of my health for that matter. It also reduces occupational hazards such as burnout and compassion fatigue. Burnout, we all know about that. Well, it's, when someone gets super tired, that someone, one feels almost sort of paralyzed to do anything. Compassion fatigue is that feeling which some people may feel, especially in the medical profession or those involved in, let's say, not-for-profit work. There comes a point in time when they get tired, perhaps, doing the same thing, helping people. As we would say in Tagalog, tao lang din ako, tao lamang ako. We can also get tired. We can also fail. So these are some of the benefits of self-care. Obviously, you yourselves may have your own experience of other benefits, but for now, this is what we have here. So self-care isn't selfish, it's self-esteem. According to Melody Beatty, is one of the the authors on motivation, inspiration, etc. So let me ask you about your health life story. What's your health life story like? What is it? What is it like? So looking at your past life until now, what is your health life story? Can you complete this statement? So I'll pause for a while. So my health life has been blank, blank, blank. Okay, so can you complete that right now? So what has been your health life story like? From the past until now, you were born a certain time, up to now you're perhaps in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, etc. So how would you characterize your life story? So my life story has been quite good. My life story has been average. My life story has been, well, almost perfect until a certain age. So it's good to make that, just this brief or this quick assessment. And then rate your well-being from 0 being the lowest to 10 the highest. So how would you rate your health right now, your overall health, physical, spiritual, emotional, mental? Of course, sometimes we may be overwhelmed by our physical condition, our physical feeling right now. Okay, so someone says 7, okay, another one 7, okay, 8. I would consider myself also perhaps 7. So it's good to know, no? At least, well, of course, this is obviously perhaps not a scientific one. It's a self-report type of, assessing our health, but it's good to know where we are, where we stand. Okay, if we rated ourselves, let's say below 5, well, perhaps we have to do a lot more. It's a signal that we have to take better care of ourselves, no? Starting today. No? If we have rated ourselves well closer to 10, well, of course, it's always good to ask, what else can I do? What else can I learn from other people? Imagine yourself, like a battery, for instance. How are you currently feeling? So from the top to the bottom, okay, you have those qualitative markers. Like, say, in this case, someone is feeling great, keep meeting your needs and practicing self-care. Feeling good, okay, how can you maintain the levels you're currently at? You're okay, how can you make your day a tiny bit better? And if you find yourself, in the bottom, you're like an empty battery, pinpoint what's draining you and try to create a boundary and then do one thing that fills you up. So you see, any businessman, any entrepreneur would be worried about, his business right now. Many have folded up, many have lost their jobs. those who are starting their businesses online, well, it's a lot more difficult, right? Doing it online because you're in a new world, we're in a new world, and people are trying to do the same thing. And then focusing on our health, well, we also have to be like health entrepreneurs. We also have to see what's our battery like. Are we closer to the top feeling great, or are we closer to feeling like an empty battery? So let me propose for you while having this self-care vision and perhaps even doing a vision board. So self-care vision perhaps can start with this one. Revisiting your purpose. What's my reason for being around? It's good to dwell on some of these perhaps transcendental issues or matters in their life. So what's my reason for being? Which could be the anchor for taking good care of our health. If up to this point in time in our life we still take our health for granted, well, it may be a good time to reconsider. Okay, what am I living for? Why should I be concerned about my health? Sometimes reasons outside ourselves would actually pop up, like I have to take care of myself because of my family. I have to live as long as I can, as I should, because of my purpose in life. And today being the first day of the rest of your life, what do I wish to be after a few months or a year? So let's just set our vision for the end of the year. We don't know what's next. So what do we want to be at the end of the year when it comes to our personal health? And of course, this question, which oftentimes we seldom ask, well, how long do I wish to live? How long do I wish to be around? For your information, life expectancy in the Philippines 2020 figures tells us that, okay, it's 71.28 years. So that's around 70 years, 71 years. Well, Nicole is from Macau. Well, everyone knows that the life expectancy in Macau is 80 plus. I think Macau ranks second in terms of the longest life expectancy in the world. I lived in Macau for well, more than 15 years, and I've seen a good number of people, old people still walking around, of course, with usually with a Filipino helper by his or her side. 2018 life expectancy the males lived up to, I mean, this is just the life expectancy, 66.2, and the females, as we know, women live longer. Life expectancy in 2018 was 72.6 or 73. So if we've lived beyond or close to that, well, perhaps we're living on a bonus. So for men, well, we have that marker 66. Well, we hope to live beyond that, and we see some people beyond that. And if we have loved ones, our parents, uncles, aunties, or brothers and sisters have lived beyond that, well, we have to be grateful that, okay, we're past that marker when it comes to Philippine life expectancy. And you will also see here, perhaps it's not too clear, some of the leading causes of death in the Philippines. Number one is coronary heart disease. Number two is stroke. Number three is influenza and pneumonia. At this point in time, it could be the coronavirus, right? Coronavirus could be the number one. And then you have the lung diseases, tuberculosis, diabetes, kidney, etc. So you will find these in the pertinent website, which is good to know. Well, hopefully we don't have these illnesses, and if we have, the more we have to take care of our health. By the way, don't worry, I'll be giving you a printed copy of this PowerPoint, which you may use. And of course, if there's anything else I can do, like an expanded webinar for your group, for your team, for your friends, we can always arrange that, even for free. Okay. Thank you. You're welcome, Aida. Then the other thing which I propose to do, which I've done with some of the groups, some of my friends in Lawag and other places, friends in Katarman, I've besides helping companies and individuals come up with let's say a team vision, corporate vision, or a personal vision, one thing which I also propose is this self-care vision board, or the vision board. What's a vision board? Vision board is basically uh, setting your goals with regard to, let's say, your vision, in this case, about self-care. No? So in first place, what you have to do in coming up with a self-care vision board is to set concrete goals for self-care until year end. So what are my concrete goals for self-care until year end? I think we'll be able to do something more concrete after this webinar. And then choose an image to associate with each goal. For instance, if your self-care goal is to maintain 8 hours of sleep every day, so you find a photo or an image which would remind you of getting 8 hours of sleep every day. So find a photo or a picture, an image. So cut it out and then have a board. That board could be, okay, a piece of paper, a cartolina, then paste it in that board. And then fill it up with other goals. That whole thing is called your vision board. A board which you will see every day, a board which will remind you every day about what you have to achieve at the end of the year. Because our brain usually thinks, operates using images, and images help us to remember our priorities, our big goals, especially when it comes to self-care. And as I mentioned, okay, paste images neatly on a paper or on a board, and then post that board on a spot visible to you every day. So perhaps something close to your bed, close to part of a mirror, or in your wallet. You can take a photo of the vision board, put it in your wallet that you can see every day. So it's good to remind ourselves. The same way, when we see ourselves in front of a mirror, we're reminded about keeping ourselves handsome, keeping ourselves beautiful, keeping ourselves presentable. Okay, so that's the vision board. Well, here's an example. For instance, just one goal, like for instance, my self-care vision board at the end of 2020 with regard to how should I think, feel, and do, be as follows. Like, well, with regard to thinking, I want to be more grateful each day. Well, that can be part of our vision board, our self-care vision board, because gratitude is associated with happiness, and the happier we are, the more healthy we become. And then part of our feeling includes what? Remaining more calm and relaxed. The more grateful we are, the happier we become, the more calm and relaxed we are when it comes to facing things. And then with regard to things that we would do, for instance, to show more appreciation to people, to smile more, to be more helpful, and to be less hurtful. So again, these matters can be printed in a board, or you can use photos and images that will remind you to work on this particular goal every day, part of your vision board. So just a quote on gratitude: it's a powerful catalyst for happiness. It's the spark that lights a fire of joy in your soul. Let me share with you also this PERMA model of Martin Seligman, who's the guru of happiness. He's done a lot of research on happiness. In the case of gratitude, there's another guy who has done a lot of work on gratitude. I can talk to you about that later on. And with regard to happiness, let me just include this because this could be part of our self-care, and some of the areas that can help us identify good areas of improvement, key areas of improvement, key result areas for that matter. So Martin Seligman, who's with the University of Pennsylvania, identified these areas to help us enhance our personal happiness. He identified the importance of personal emotions, okay? Living a pleasant life, enhancing one's self-esteem, feeling good, having more satisfaction, having more resilience in their lives. Then engagement, Engagement refers to well, being focused in the work that we do, well, enjoying something to the extent that, well, perhaps we lose sight of what's happening outside because we're too consumed about what we're doing. We're passionate about, let's say, a particular job, a particular cause, a particular hobby, or a particular project. So we feel and think nothing about nothing else when we're fully engaged. So he calls this that state of flow. Some of you may already have heard of that. Flow is that state when everything seems to go go well. Everything goes to support you. That you work well. That you're able to do things without any glitch. And then the R, so we have positive emotion, that's the P. E is engagement. R refers to relationships. We know a lot about relationships, no? Relationships that are meaningful, authentic, life enhancing. Um, and for this matter, I'd like to add something with regard to relationships. If we want to enhance our relationships, we have to focus on our conversations. Check your personal conversations with family members. What's the quality of your conversation? Are you more into praising, encouraging people when they are in a particular situation? Or do we tend to blame more? Do we tend to accuse more? Are we more judgmental? So conversations are very important. So if we want to improve the culture of a company, focus on the relationship, focus on improving the relationships, but relationships can only be improved if we improve our personal conversations. That also holds true for the family. If you want to improve the culture of the family, work on the relationships, but you have to go down to conversations. How are the conversations among family members? Then let's go back to PERMA. M stands for meaning, the purpose of our life, fulfillment, the contribution that we make to others, our sense of belonging, the motivations that we have as well. And lastly, our achievement, our sense of achievement. What have we achieved so far? The goals that we have for our life, our uh, our our vision for our life, especially during this time. No? What do we want to achieve? So that's the PERMA model, which is relevant when it comes to pursuit of happiness. No? So our relationships with regard to health and happiness, our relationships and how happy we are in our relationships has a powerful influence on our health. This is, by the way, a finding of a longitudinal study um, done among initially Harvard students in 1938, and the study continues up to now. And the current director of that study is a Professor Waldinger. So in their 80-year study, they discovered the following. So what's the root of health and happiness? Relationships, and how happy we are in our relationships has a powerful influence on our health. So the quality of our relationships. And then what else? Taking care of our body is important, but tending to our relationships is a form of self-care. Because if our relationships are good, well, we feel better. And when we feel better, perhaps our life signals also improve. Our blood pressure, blood sugar, all those matters which we perhaps monitor these days, right? Given our condition, given our age. Okay, can we move on? Thank you. So let me propose to you the following as we focus on the areas of self-care in coming up with, let's say, decisions in putting our plan into practice. It may be useful to take a look or adopt this simple framework, the stop, start, continue framework. So what are the things that I have to stop doing if I want to achieve my self-care goals? What are the things that I have to start doing? And what are the things that I have to continue doing because I've perhaps been doing them for a number of years, and they remain helpful and useful to my self-care plans. So let me just give you a case. Someone wrote to me earlier this week with the following, and let me just read you. This may be representative of many cases faced by people these days. No? I find it difficult to figure out why I feel stressed. Maybe because of looking for a job or a scheduled interview, afraid I may not be considered, etc. I just feel my heartbeat is beating fast sometimes, just at any time of the day, and thus my voice when I speak is trembling. Thanks to suggest what remedy I can take. As I replied to this person with the following, obviously the combination of all you've mentioned burden your mind, causing worries, anxieties, which affect the body, the heart in particular. The unknown and the uncontrollable in the past are beyond us. So this is what I suggested to him. What you must deal with is focusing on present priorities, no? Planning to deal with them through concrete steps and living each day one at a time. A good diet will help. Good diet with low salt, low sugar, less fat could help, no? Plus exercise. And good sleep is super important. So with regard to that framework mentioned earlier, stop, start, do, well, we can take a look at that in giving advice also. Well, if ever we find ourselves in a position to give advice, or if we are asked our 5 cents, 10 cents worth, well, what advice can we give? Some steps a person may start doing, continue doing, or some things a person may consider stop doing because he mentions to us, okay, it's a habit that is bothering him. And well, the response of the person was as follows. Well said. Yes, you're right. One day at a time. Focus on present priorities and take concrete steps. Obviously, there could be many more pieces of advice that we can give or one can give. And sometimes the trick could be just focusing on one. What should I stop doing? What should I start doing? What should I continue doing? So this is a real case. This happened last week. So when I wanted to give up, there's a quote, God told me to get up. Of course, it's always good to hang on to our anchors, our spiritual anchor, that God is always there, no matter what. God always loves us, no matter what. Dealing with stress, well, here's just some of the tricks, some of the things that we can use to deal with stress. There's a lot of materials that you can check with regard to dealing with stress, but it's something which we will just mention or show you quickly. You'll also find a lot of things, tips when it comes to dealing with stress from different sources. No? Okay, like for instance, staying at home these days, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, talking to people you trust, and oftentimes when we're stressed, okay, we just have to practice deep breathing, which we will see later on. Deep breathing, 4-7-8. 4 seconds, inhale, 7 seconds, hold, and then 8 seconds, exhale. 4-7-8, and that always works. When you're nervous, when you feel stressed, when you want to lash out at someone, when you want to get back at someone, just practice deep breathing. It will help. So what are the types of self-care? Well, different sources will mention about 8, or it could even be more. You have the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the intellectual, environmental, social, and financial concerns. No? In this case, let me just focus on four domains of self-care. As I mentioned earlier, SPEM, focusing on the spiritual, the physical, the emotional, and then the mental. So this acronym, SPEM, is Latin for the word hope. And what a good value or virtue to have in mind, hope. These days, it's always good to have hope, regardless of our conditions, even if we're too poor, hope is always needed, because otherwise we'll give up. And Filipinos in general are resilient people, including people in Macau as well, huh? Resilient people. So again, when we come up with personal decisions, and as we look at these 4 areas, let's remember this, okay? What are the things that I have to stop doing, the things that I have to start doing, the points and matters that I have to continue doing as we look at those 4 domains, 4 areas in self-care. So what about spiritual self-care? So let's focus on that first. So spiritual self-care is nourishing our soul with truth, beauty, and goodness. This is what is oftentimes referred to as the transcendentals, no? Because the mind is focused on the truth, seeking the truth about ourselves, about the news, about our lives, about how things should be. And then beauty, our senses are also focused on the beauty around us, the beauty of nature, the beauty we see in people, not just the external, but the beauty people have within, the beauty that the frontliners have shown, the beauty of their soul, the beauty of the people have seen in helping others despite the meager means that they may have. And of course, goodness, which is the focus of the human will. The human will usually looks at what? The good, pursuing the good. As also as a religious nation, we also can discount the fact that okay, well, we have that relationship with God. Part of our spiritual care could be the most important part for most people. So that conversation with God, and then living seeking and living one's deeper purpose. So as we saw earlier, it's when it comes to our personal vision, it's good to connect with our deeper purpose. Why am I here? What's the meaning of my life? What's my mission in life? And then peace of mind and a cheerful heart. All of us want a peace of mind. That's something which we cannot buy. No? Money cannot buy peace of mind, but it's something which we just experience often because of doing good, being at peace with ourselves, being having a clear conscience. No? And then here are some tips, some strategies, tactics that we can consider when it comes to enhancing our self-care. Self-awareness, self-reflection on one's deeper purpose. Finding time during the week, during our meditation, during our prayer, to be aware about our deeper purpose. Because I think that's the anchor. No? There's this author, this resource person. His name is Simon Sinek. You may have heard him. He popularized this question of asking the why in our lives. We always have to ask the why. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? So the why, the purpose of everything that we do. And that's a question we have to ask our lives. What is the purpose of my life? What's my deeper purpose? Because that's the anchor that we will need when things become more cloudy, things become more gloomy. Then living in God's presence, and trusting the day ahead to God. That's something which a lot of people I know practice. We need to entrust. I think we need to entrust our whole day to God. For those who uh, are believers, and for those who are not, well, at least a higher purpose beyond themselves could help. No? Then the practice of prayer and meditation. There have been studies on this. No? Also in the field of gratitude, there have been studies of nuns who have practiced gratitude, shown in the journals that they have written, and this was correlated to their longevity, how long they lived, and how happy they were when it comes to their life. So the importance of finding some quiet time, prayer and meditation, and drawing inspirations from saints and heroes through the classics. We'll find a hero. I think it's good to find a hero. Some of us have found heroes in medical professionals these days. Others have found heroes from saints. Others have found heroes from historical characters and personalities, or it could be even a fictional character that helps someone to be a hero for someone else. Then seeking a spiritual coach and a support group. It is something which I would highly recommend, because isolation is something very difficult, especially common during these days. No? But well, for the sake of the social media, it's good use. Well, that's where we can connect with people, finding and seeking a spiritual coach and supporting a support group. And if we can, without being intrusive in the lives of people, if we can help others by being a coach, well, what a service we could give to them. It could even save their lives. No? Then renewing ourselves with a personal retreat, through a personal retreat or a community retreat. These are some of the strategies. Again, going back to the framework earlier I mentioned, stop, start, continue. Some of these things you may want to adopt. Some of these things you maybe have been doing, so you can continue doing. Some of them may start doing, or there are matters which you have to stop doing because it's not good for one's spiritual care. Then enjoying nature, getting out, reflecting on your blessings. No? So I like taking a walk. That's my exercise. But these days it's difficult. No? My walk is just basically to go to a place close by our house. Of course, I have a pass. No? But for those of us who have a bigger garden or a bigger subdivision where you can walk around, it's always good to look out if we can. No? Then reaching out to someone, helping without expecting anything in return. So that's still part of self-care. Then reading good inspirational books and watching motivational videos. So here I've been just basically giving you some of my ideas, no, which I've been doing. Some of them I've been doing. Some of them I've also found in abundance in other people's lives, no, which they've been doing, and can try to see if any of these, at least one, would be suitable in enhancing your spiritual self-care. And let me add a few more things quickly. So listening to calming, relaxing, healing meditation music, there's a lot. Spotify has that. YouTube also has a lot of music. I do that every day. So how about you? No? Finding time to listen to music. No? And being more grateful, showing more appreciation, especially to one's family. Gratitude notes are quite important. They're useful. Practicing forgiveness, beginning with ourselves. We have to learn to forgive ourselves, to be kind to ourselves. Appreciating the goodness in you and in others. Willfully acquiring a good habit and dropping a bad one. Like, if someone still curses, huh? Okay, especially when hearing speeches of people or listening to some news, no? And those things that that annoy us and push our blood pressure up. Well, those are perhaps things that we can avoid. Doing acts of kindness daily, being a blessing to someone. Now, how about being a blessing to someone today? Give a generous donation to charity. Replace spiritual noise with positive affirmations. Positive affirmations like are positive statements, which we have to repeat to ourselves. Like, I'm blessed today. I face this new day with a lot of optimism. I face this day with hope, which we repeat many times. No? Then pause for some quiet time to appreciate the good things around you, physical things that we see around. Assessing your spiritual growth regularly is something which is also good to keep in mind. Now, this one I'll just mention quickly. I will not discuss it anymore. Well, there's this phenomenon of the post-traumatic growth, no, which is the idea that in the long run, even difficult traumatic events and experiences can have beneficial effects. Okay, like people report feeling more appreciative of their lives, no? A new sense of meaning and purpose, less materialistic and more altruistic, more concerned with the well-being of others. In short, the message basically of this phenomenon is that even difficult times can actually bring out something good. Okay, there's this expression in Latin, omnia in bonum, which means everything turns out for the good. Skip that one. Now let's focus on physical self-care. Physical self-care is the more common, if not the most common, of the self-care domains. No? So it's honoring our body with proper care, living a healthy and balanced life, which you already know, discovering your physical potential, being a steward to material resources. And what are some of the strategies, the tactics that we can adopt? Set a daily plan for your life. Choose a useful routine. This was the advice given by a lot of people and given to a lot of people at the start of the pandemic, these lockdowns, to have a useful routine, to have a schedule. Then get sufficient rest and sleep. We are advised to have at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. We have different conditions. In my case, sometimes I find it difficult to sleep. Recently, I bought this Himalayan salt lamp. I think it's helping me. I've given it to one to my sister and to my mom, and well, you can try it. Of course, there are no still scientific findings. The evidences are basically anecdotal, but it may help you. This Himalayan salt lamp. Then commit to a healthy diet, taking food of good nutritional value. That's something basic. Less salt, less sugar, less fat, more vegetables, drink more water. Get a makeover at a salon. Use essential oils for your skin. So using essential oils also to smell them, to lift your mood. Engaging in regular and age-appropriate physical exercise. Walking for some is the default exercise. Dance to the beat of music you enjoy. You can do that in your room. There are a lot of apps. There's this app called Simple Radio, which allows you to access radio stations from all over the world. If you want a Christmas radio station that plays Christmas songs all the time, I'll just look up that app called Simple Radio, and you can dance to the beat of Christmas or dance to the beat of disco of the 70s, 80s, or 90s. Get some sun daily. Okay, the sun is vitamin D, right? Then practice deep breathing. 478. Wear the outfit that gives you confidence, even if you're at home, especially when you're doing a webinar or giving a class. And what else? Schedule your annual medical checkup. Okay, there are clinics that are open for this medical checkup. Then put order in your wardrobe and cabinets. Okay, so for some that could be relaxing, right? Get an aromatherapy diffuser for your room. So that's also something which I like very much. It lifts our mood. It helps us feel better. Visit a wellness center if you can. Take a walk and be active. So walking, as we've read and we've heard, is good for the health. Stretch from your desk. Don't get stuck in your desk or your chair for hours. Drink enough water daily. That's very important, ladies and gentlemen. I've known of people who have had intestinal, I think, cancer, and sometimes the thing they found out is the person hardly drank enough water during the day. Get a misting and disinfection service for the house. It may be expensive, but it could be useful. Consider doing a vertical or indoor garden. I like gardening. Ever since I came back here, I've been very interested in plants. No? I've been very interested in plants, especially growing indoor plants. No? Consider some form of art therapy. If you're into drawing, painting, or music or whatever, this can help. Declutter your work area and give your room a makeover. Okay, so that's the last in our physical self-care. So one can have something like this, a self-care to-do list. No? You can make an artwork out of it, no? And put it in a corner where you can see it every day, morning and at night. And you can also renew it. It can also be an electronic list, right? Now let's move on to the second one. We're closing to the end. I will extend this webinar perhaps 5 more minutes if it's okay, just to cover a few things, and we'll have some Q&A after that. I'd be very glad to answer your Q&A. And again, I'm always open for even for short, say, meeting over Google Meet if you want to discuss things further. Regarding self-care, we can always discuss it as a small group, as a small circle that would be useful for everyone. But I think it's always good to have a plan when it comes to enhancing, boosting our own personal health, covering those 4 domains: spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental. And of course, we know that all of them are interrelated. They're part of the same web. So emotional self-care. So when we look at emotions, we often associated with what? Feelings. When they're low intensity, emotions are feelings. When they're high intensity emotions, they're passions. Caring for your emotions and overall well-being, that's part of emotional self-care. Creating healthy psychological boundaries, knowing our limits, mindful of the present moment, and then the custody of the heart and the senses. So many times the things that we keep in our heart can spell the quality of our emotions. The things that we see can also determine the quality of feelings that we may have. So here are some tips. Nurture emotional intelligence. It's something which is a topic in management, topic in HR. So emotional intelligence is, basically being sensitive to other people, considering their feelings, at the same time guarding our feelings as well, not allowing our feelings, especially the negative ones, to affect, to degrade the quality of our relationships. Then capture happy family moments in video. Okay, those of you, well, all of us have mobile phones, right, with cameras. It's good to capture family moments, happy family moments in video, which we can watch over and over again, especially during those times when you want to lift your mood. Then catch yourself when trapped in useless worries. So we have to find a way to worry less. Of course, sometimes worrying can give people pleasure, but it's also bad for one's mental and physical health. Use your self-care vision board. The self-care vision board we saw earlier. If you have one, you look at it every now and then. It can help you perk up your emotion. Then keep a gratitude journal. I have a gratitude journal. I don't use it every day, but I have a list which I look at every now and then to just to remind me what are the things that I have to be grateful about. Makes me happier. Take regular breaks uh, from social media. So that's from social media, not for social media. Exercise the 4-7-8 breathing technique that I mentioned earlier. 4 seconds inhale, 7 seconds hold, 8 seconds exhale. It will work. It will help you. Then find a good coach or a mentor. If you still don't have one, find one. And then what else? Okay, stay in touch with friends. Okay, so there's a list. It's a list added to our emotional self-care. So let me go over them one by one. So stay in touch with friends. But by social media, we can do that. If we have an ongoing Facebook group, we can always get in touch with them. Then join a wholesome support group. Read some motivational article. We find a number of them in social media. Try laughter yoga exercises. I don't know if you've seen some of these yoga exercises, these laughter yoga exercises. Since laughter is the best medicine, as mentioned in the past, well, it's always something that we can try. And it's here in these laughter yoga exercises that it's the deliberate purpose to make us laugh more, even if we're very serious people. Then smile at yourself in the mirror. Okay, how often do we smile at ourselves? How many times have we smiled during this day? During this day, write a gratitude note or text message to someone. You can always do that every day. Watch an inspiring video. Recall a happy memory with the family and friends. Listen to feel good music, which readily lifts our emotions. Using aromatic essential oils to uplift, energize, or relax our mood. This is useful for a number of people. Drink water or calming tea. Chamomile tea, for instance, is wonderful. When I was in Spain, I was studying there in Spain. Usually, the chamomile tea they would only give it to the sick people. But one of the effects of chamomile tea is, to calm someone and at the same time to help someone sleep better. So chamomile tea. Then find a corner for some minutes of quiet time. Okay, so when you find yourself just too stressed, just find some quiet time somewhere, just perhaps doing nothing, just relaxing in a quiet corner. And if you want, listen to music or start praying, etc. So that's our emotional self-care. Number of tips can always include those that are not here. But again, going back to the framework which I mentioned earlier, what are the things that we have to stop when it comes to our emotional self-care, especially stop worrying too much? What are the things that we have to continue doing? What are the things that we have to start doing? Okay, simple life self-care. Again, I can have a poster like this or a list like this. Okay, look at something nice. Reminder for you to look at something nice, have a photo or a picture. Smell something nice, feel something nice, taste something nice, listen to something nice. So this is engaging all the senses, the 5 senses, to help us feel emotionally better. And then lastly, looking at mental self-care, which is also super important, as we know. So how's your mental health right now? If you were to rate yourself from 0, the lowest, to 10, how's your mental health? And it's something which we don't usually do, but it's also good. Okay, am I there, or am I still, am I worried with a lot of things? Do I spend a lot of time worrying? And is my score below 5 because I worry most of my day? and consequently my health gets affected. So mental self-care is nurturing and managing your mental state. It's keeping the mind healthy and happy, right? Doing some mental floss, no? Mental cleaning. We do the dental floss, right? Sometimes it's also good to see, okay, what's that habit that I have, or what's that thought that continues to haunt me, or what's that image that continues to make me suffer every time I recall it, etc. So we may have to apply some mental floss. Then focusing your mind on what truly matters. That's why our anchors are important. The vision board, the purpose of our life, what we're doing things for, etc. So here are some strategies. Start every day with positive affirmations. It's great to be alive. Uh, previous in a previous gratitude seminar which I had, this was face to face, meaning in-house, just before the MECQ. The most common thing people are most grateful about is the fact that they are still alive. Indeed, no? Be able to attend that workshop in-house. No? And practice positive self-talk. Foster an optimistic voice in your head. Positive self-talk is like talking to yourself, but focusing on the positive rather than blaming ourselves of the past that is already gone, or being super negative about a future which may not even come. So that's also the focus of mindfulness, being in the present, living in the present. List down three things that you're most grateful about morning and night. So this is always a recommended exercise in clinical psychology, as well as an intervention which I would propose to people, especially who want to enhance their motivation or their level of satisfaction and happiness. Gratitude list. Then identify five positive things you see around you. So when we get worried, it may be good to stop, to look and listen. What are those positive things around me? Enjoy good humor. Humor is always good. It's good medicine as well, besides laughter, right? Limit your worry time. So for some of us, we may worry for days, we may worry for, but again, it's just, circular thing. No? So we may give ourselves a limit, okay? Worrying only for 1 minute. And after that, that's gone. Or when we catch ourselves worrying, that's limited to a few seconds. Okay, but let's give ourselves that metric, okay, that limit. No? And being aware of negative language. No? Negative language, we have to catch ourselves. No? It's like, when a kid starts doing something like picking his nose, or the mother or father tells him, okay, not to do that. No? So we have to catch ourselves with our negative language, no? And stop doing it and substitute it with some positive language. Then think about helping others in meaningful ways, right? And a few more things. Well, I'm beyond 10:30. It's already 10:35. With your indulgence, please allow me to continue. Practice forgiveness. And then let someone know you're sorry. Okay, when was the last time we forgive someone? When was the last time we said sorry? It's difficult to do in many cases. Perhaps there are some things which are difficult to let go of, but others have had experiences of forgiving even those people whom they couldn't imagine they could forgive in their lifetime. Avoid toxic relationships. And we can also avoid being the cause of a toxic relationship. That's what is in our control. Then explore a new hobby and be creative. So what can I start doing as a hobby? What can I start learning? I know for some people, using the internet, the computer, or the mobile phone, or using the Zoom, etc., is something difficult to do. Perhaps it's time to ask for help, or those of you who are younger, you can offer your help. Reflect on what makes you special. So why are you special? I'd like to see that in the chat box. You may be ashamed to say so, but well, it's good to ask ourselves, what are we special? Of course, in the eyes of parents, children are always special. Call a friend. So whom can we call right now? And it won't be a surprise, but perhaps you'll be surprised that they will always be super grateful. Look for a suitable mentor or coach, something which I mentioned earlier. Laugh more. Don't take yourself seriously. That's an advice we have heard time and again in the past. Don't take yourself seriously. Recall good childhood memories. Okay, childhood memories: flying a kite, playing this nursery game, playing this and that. Recall childhood memories. Good for our mind. Complain less today. So that's one good resolution for every day. I will complain less. Surely, if we detach ourselves from social media today, we will complain less. Write, write your future self an encouraging letter dated December 31, 2020. If you want, if you have time, and if you feel doing so, write your future self an encouraging letter. And you can seal it and then read it by the end of the year. Then practice mental hygiene. Vet the quality of social media that you use. So we don't have to see everything, anything that can be a source of worry, source of evil, source of pain. We can always avoid them. And lastly, evaluate each day and resolve to live a better tomorrow. Something like an examination of conscience or a self-assessment at the end of the day would help to help us assess how has been our self-care like, right? So again, going back to these personal decisions, we have to look at what we have to stop doing, what we have to start doing, what we have to continue doing in our self-care plan. So just the last few things. Well, your self-care plan, as proposed by this social work tech, as they propose this template, so you can focus on three areas: mind, body, spirit, and then drawing concrete strategies or tactics or resolutions from those lists we have in those four areas: spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental. You can fill in the blanks, right? What are the things that will help you improve the state of your mind, the state of your body, the state of your spirit or your soul? Then supportive people in your life, and then the things that you want to accomplish. So let's take a look at a sample that has been accomplished by the one who crafted this template, Ignacio Pacheco. So from his page, he has this following with regard to things that will improve the state of mind: meditate, take lots of breaks, lifelong learning, fun, music. So you can have something like this. In fact, this can serve as your vision board. Then with regard to the body, tea, exercise, nourishing food, sleep 8 hours, everything in moderation. So when you have something like this, you look at it and you see it every day. It's a good reminder. You don't even have to invent resolutions. They're already here because you have thought about them. Then with regard to the spirit, meditate, human connections, fulfillment through using my awesome skills, and then self-reflection. And then here in the left side, bottom left corner, you will find supportive people in my life. So you identify your support group. Some of them could be family members. Some of them could be your mentors, your coach. And then at the bottom right, the things that I want to accomplish. What, in the end, why do you want all these things? Peace, serenity, control, happiness, good work, be a good person, which could be the deeper purpose you may have in your life. So you see, this is something that we can have, and once you have this, you can post it in a place where you can see it every day, or take a photo of it, put it in your wallet, or you have it in your mobile phone as a, as as a page. And then some people may also have this 30-day at home self-care or 30 days of self-care. So these are just examples which you will have because I'll be giving you this PowerPoint material. Then there are other steps that you can consider when it comes to self-care from different sources. Many of them already mentioned in our list, in our checklist of the SPEM, those 4 domains. You may have your own 12 steps to follow. Again, another way of coming up with a more complete, workable self-care plan. But let me end with the following: importance of what? Being humble. Be humble enough to ask for help. So even though we're talking about self-care, we know that we cannot do it all alone. So we simply have to be humble to ask for help, because we flourish by association, not by isolation. We flourish, we develop by association, not by isolation. So thank you. Thank you very much. So that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, just let me know. You may post your questions in our chat box. Thank you, Attorney Venus. Thank you very much. Prayers for you. So if you have any questions, you may use your chat box, and I'll be here to listen to your questions, to read your questions if you have. So let's see. Okay. Or you may also use your microphones. You may unmute your microphones. So by the way, as I said, if you think this presentation could be helpful for your group, let's say Joe, Yonida, the people from Tarlac, if you want me to have a rerun of this for your group, if you can have a bigger group, I will be willing to help you, to reach out. Now, for me, this is also, I think, part of self-care. The more I get involved in this, it's also one way of forgetting more about myself, and being detached from social media. social media. So anything that you may want to ask, anything that you may want to share with regard to self-care. By the way, yeah, thanks a lot, Nilo. So Nilo, you stayed all the way. I thought you'd be around only for 30 minutes. Thank you, Nilo. By the way, I have the PowerPoint presentation which I just showed you. I think it's relatively good, but the file is quite heavy. It's 17 megabytes. Then I also printed the handout version with 3 transparencies or 3 slides per page. It's about, I think, 5+ megabytes. But the one with 2 slides per page, it's about 11 megabytes. So just let me know, what do you want? Do you want the PowerPoint, which I can share with you? Obviously, if you use the PowerPoint, you can always do it as your own presentation. I don't have any problems with that. But if you want the lighter one, I can share with you the 3 per page, although sometimes some pages it could be very small. So you would need to just magnify the page to be able to see it. But one thing which I'd like to recommend to you is, if you think a friend would be helped by having a self-care, you may want to talk to them, to convince them, because the message, especially that popped up in my mind right now, is we cannot leave self-care just to chance. Meaning we have to take over. We have to take over our own self-care. Self-care is perhaps not too known to many people, but there are academic research materials about self-care. There are a lot of popular materials about it. Again, the reason why I decided, okay, I'll have a webinar about this is that, I found a gem. It's like, the idea of gratitude, which I found out about a few years ago. And I decided to spend the last few years of my academic life researching on gratitude. By the way, those of you who haven't had my book on gratitude, I'm giving that away for free. Initially I decided to sell it in Amazon, but I'm not too concerned about that. I'm more concerned about giving it away to as many people. So you can write me in my email. You have that. I post my email there in our chat box. And one other thing, if you think this video or this webinar will help, I recorded this video actually, thanks to Google Suite. And I will be uploading this soon. I don't know how soon, but if I have time, I may be able to do it at the end of the day. And I can send you the link through your email. You can also find me in Facebook. My Facebook ID is Zen Udani. And you can also find me in LinkedIn. In LinkedIn, you'll find me using my full name. No? That's in LinkedIn. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Uh, anything that I can do for you, if ever? So my intention really is just to help, and if at least there's something that you, just even one thing that you picked up from this webinar, one thing that you will start doing, I'd be very happy for that. Because again, the more we're able to encourage people to take charge of their health, of course, we need doctors, right? But in these particular circumstances, okay, we can only consult them online. But there are many other things that we can do so that at least we minimize, we perhaps delay, or even totally get rid of some of the illnesses we may feel right now. Of course, one thing very important is prayer. Prayer works. Prayer is very important. We only have one life. This life is not the permanent life that we have, and we also have to be prepared for that life to come. That's why there's the spiritual care that we have to take care of. So take care of those four areas: spiritual, emotional, physical, and mental. Spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental. Okay, so if there's nothing else, I wouldn't want to delay you. So just feel free to get in touch with me. I will also leave with you my uh, mobile phone, because you can get in touch with me through Viber using my mobile phone, in touch with me through email, and also through LinkedIn. Okay, thank you, Leonida. Quality talk with family and friends. And by the way, this is also a very important discovery I've had attending an international course on conversational intelligence. If you want to improve the quality of family relationships, make an examination of the quality of your conversations with the family. How is it? These days, people are with their own devices, right? Halos walang conversation. We think that physical presence is enough. Of course, physical accompaniment is enough. But check the quality of conversations. Because in the first place, baka walang conversation. There may be no conversations. And then when you look at the quality of conversations, is it more affectionate, more understanding, or are we more judgmental, or do we tend to blame and shame people more when it comes to our conversations? And there are empirical evidences, meaning benefits, from changing the words that we use, okay, into helping people precisely improve relationships with other people. Of course, in other areas, this could be discussed differently, like in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, or in this cognitive behavioral modification, etc. But well, again, using common sense, the quality of our conversations, the goodness of our conversation or of its poorness will spell a big difference when it comes to our relationships. And then lastly, as I thank you, don't forget to thank someone. Gratitude works. Try sending someone a gratitude note. Try sending someone a gratitude text, and you will see the impact. Oftentimes people would say, I never realized that this person, they never realized that I did something good to this person. And when you begin those realizations, you will see connections will improve. And not only connections, conversations. Social media allows us connections, but let's not stop at connections, especially with people close to us. Let's develop, nurture positive, healthy, appreciative conversations. It's free, but sometimes more difficult, right? But the rewards are also fantastic. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar. I'm happy to have you again. Please do keep in touch. And I'm willing to collaborate with any of you, especially in these areas of resilience, self-care, grateful leadership, gratitude, and other areas in HR and life matters that could help us live our lives better and help people live their lives better. Thank you very much for attending this webinar on self-care, uh, self-care plan, crafting a self-care plan, and coping strategies during this pandemic. Well, thank you very much, and God bless everyone. I'll send you the link to the video once it's done. I will upload it in my YouTube channel. By the way, my YouTube channel is called Filipino Voice. Filipino Voice. Okay, that's my YouTube. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you very much, Arvin. Thank you, Yolanda, Yonida. Thank you, Americ. Okay, I think I know your dad. You're the junior, right? Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Attorney Venus. Thank you, Jolly, Yonida. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so keep in touch. Thank you, Giselle. Okay, yes, Americ. All the best, no? And thank you, Ida. Thank you, everyone. So keep in touch and God bless. Have a nice Sunday. And for those of you who are Catholics, you know, it's the feast day, Our Lady of Feast of the Assumption of Our Lady. So happy Marian feast day to all of you. And God bless everyone. Thank you. Bye. See you then.